What's up, guys? Welcome back to Make It and Break It. My name's Andrew. Lately we've been in the garage working on our project Hypertenere Yamaha R6. We most recently finished up our crash bars, our main hoop crash bars here. But I have been doing some other stuff on the side that I actually learned some interesting stuff and I wanted to show you. So we're gonna walk in here and show you what's currently on my big 3D printer. So my big 3D printer is a Raise 3D Pro 2 Plus. It's got a build volume 12 inches by 12 inches by 24 inches. And for the most part, I haven't really been pushing that build volume until recently. Take a look at this. So this is a full base 12 by 12 print. And whoa, hopefully I don't screw it up. We're so close to finishing it. I'm doing this print for a customer. I do 3D prints of various different things for people. I run an eBay store where I print molds for people to make their own gold mining mats. And this print is a custom size for him. And I was having trouble getting this thing to actually stick down. And the reason was actually kind of simple. And I wanted to shoot this video for you guys real quick, show you what fixed my problem and what allows me to print the biggest possible 3D prints on this printer. So we're gonna go into the into my slicer over there. Ignore the rest of this. It's dirty. Don't look at it. And I'll show you guys the little tip we got here. Okay, everyone. So we're in our slicer. This is IdeaMaker 353 or something like that. And I wanted to show you the adjustments I had to make in here so that we can get the maximum print volume possible out of our Raise 3D Pro 2 Plus. This adjustment applies for models that have very large bases that push you out to your maximum capacity or close to them, or models that are print volumes are at least close to the 12 by 12, such that if you're using supports near the edges, it can screw with your platform additions for those supports. So I'm going to come in here and throw in just a 12 by 12 mining mat profile. You notice right now there were no errors. Normally if there's if a model you're putting in is too big for the build plate, it'll give you an error saying, hey, do you want to scale it, shrink it, so that it fits on the build plate. We didn't get that here, but we'll get that notification here in a minute. Headphones just fell. We're gonna put this in its build location here, and even though it's showing red, it's showing an invalid model. That's because of the way this model's built. The slicer doesn't like it. It prints just fine. So not all notifications on your slicer are perfect. So you see everything's here, and the lines here just barely fit within. We're like 0.1 millimeter from each edge here, because this is a 305 millimeter build plate, and our model is 304.8, right? So we're pushing right in the edges. So if we slice this here, and you're not going to see the pop-ups, but if we slice this with our regular slicer settings, we get an error that you're apparently still not seeing, but we get an error that says, hey, the raft, which is a platform edition, I'll show you in a second, is larger than build volume and this could screw with you. Do you want to continue? We're going to hit yes, and let our slicer here do all of its calculations and toolpath calculations and give us a file. Okay, so you can see up on the top left, this is a significant print. We've got 42 and a half hours and almost 600 grams in this print. So this is not a small print. It's certainly not the largest print that this printer is capable of, but the footprint is definitely about as big as we could ever manage to fit on this printer. And I want to show you guys what was screwing with us here. So I'm going to throw out the preview, and this is our problem. So we're looking at the bottom of the layer here. So up here, this red is the actual model that we care about. These yellows are the support materials. In this case, this is the Raft Platform Edition. I use it for these materials based on their usage, and I like the finish that we get off the base layer on these rafts. So I typically do print most of the things off the Raise 3D with a raft. But you can see this light yellow, orange, tan, beige, whatever color this is, this light yellow piece up here extends well past the edge of the build volume. And on a lot of printers or a lot of slicers, they will interpret this as the edge of your build volume, but sometimes they will try and print these layers anyway. So what we were seeing is on the edges here, as it was tracing out the edge of this raft, we would get 3 to 4 layers on some of these edges, where it would just go back over trying to reprint all of these layers that you can see over here. We have 3 layers outside of the build volume here, and it would try and print all 3 of these layers at the very edge of the build volume. What that does is that causes a lot of lifting, causes a lot of deformation, and essentially the base layer won't hold at that point, and it'll start deforming or whatever else. Bad stuff happens and ruin your part. So the way to solve this, and the way to get rid of kind of your issues, is to adjust your base layer. So in my case, I created a new profile here. It still has the error with the raft being larger than the build platform, but I'll show you why this is not necessarily a problem. Alright, so the print is roughly the same, right? We didn't really expect much. There's not a whole lot of material in the rafts of these prints. Mostly it's there to recreate the build plate, but with a consistently level plastic build plate. You can see here, this is much smaller than the previous one. So normally my rafts extend 3-ish millimeters, 2 millimeters around the outside of the part, just to provide nice, good thermal barriers and sticking and all that sort of stuff. This one is a 0.5 millimeter, so it barely extends past the edge of the part and the build volume. And you can see there's not multiple layers over here on the left hand side outside the build volume. There's this edge of this layer here is outside the build volume. So we're not going to get that same doubling issue that we were seeing on previous prints, where we would have this layer, and or this line, and probably this line outside of our build volume. And so it would start doubling up and tripling up on lines, and nothing would end up lining up at the end. So just a quick thing that you can go adjust in your slicer if you're seeing the same problems I am when you're trying to print at sort of your printer's maximum capacity. And hopefully it'll help you out as much as it has helped me. And after doing all that, we get a very successful print. So you can see here, this is a 12x12 print for the same customer. It's going to be going out here soon, and you can see how much bigger this thing is. This is our Creality CR10, and this print is as big as the entire build plate on this CR10, so it's ridiculous. But using those tips, when you're thinking about this, allowed me to print it with a build plate edition. This is a raft, and successfully get everything off and get the type of quality that I expected from this product. So just another 3D printing tips and tricks here on Make and Break It. If you found this interesting and helpful, definitely like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Hit me up if you have questions about this process or about 3D printing in general. I try to be as helpful as possible. So thanks for watching, guys. My name's Andrew, and I'll catch you later.